Got some news, and it's good. From the PU Monthly Report, we've got some exciting developments going on with one particular ship that we've been waiting on for quite some time. And that ship is a ship that I have in my incredibly silly fleet of ships that I have, and half of them I can't even fly yet. Well, probably more than half. It depends on what you really call fly-worthy. I'm looking for my big ships. I'm still waiting on my Idris, about as much as some people are waiting on their Banu Merchantman. But either way, a ship in the backlog that is getting released slowly is still a ship in the backlog getting released. And that ship is, of course, the Polaris. We finally have the Polaris going into white box, and the white box means progress, and that the concept at least is finished, hopefully, and we should start expecting to see some kind of progress either through ISC or some other post of its progress towards release. For those that are not aware, the Polaris is a capital-sized ship, or is it really? I wouldn't say it was capital in terms of the size, but it definitely is more capitally than, say, a Hammerhead. But it does have a crew of what is listed as 24, and it does boast some pretty beefy sort of torpedoes for those size 10. What do they call them? Cap ship killers. I mean, I'm looking forward to the ship. The ship itself is actually pretty well sort of flushed out. We've got obviously the torpedo bays, we've got medical bays, we've got a hangar. We can actually have a ship that is useful. So a bit like the 890, how it can have its own ship on board that can actually fight, not a little snub thing. This ship can actually accommodate a fighter like a Gladius, which is great. Because we've been needing something like that, especially with Pyro coming out sort of later this year, beginning in next year. This particular ship will be very useful. It also has its own mess, it's got a brig, it's got an armory, it's got quarters. It's a capital ship, in a sense of a word. And by those size 10s, I mean these big torpedo things that come out the front of the giant flying Dorito. Now, the reconcept, from what I remember of the original, it definitely looks a bit more fleshed out, and I am quite happy with how it looks. It does look pretty neat. The lower decks, obviously with its engineering, its cargo ramps, torpedo area, what else we got? It's a reasonable space on the lower decks. But on the upper decks, with the actual flight deck, it's got, well, I say flight deck, flight pad, the bunk rooms, mess rooms, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's going to be an interesting ship when it finally does get into our hands, which is probably going to be about, what do you think, about a year's time, I would say. So probably this time next year. Sooner will be better. But I think they said in a post a while back that it would take about a year to a year and a half or something like that to produce this ship from start to finish. So I would say next year, mid next year, it'll be the sort of best guess to see this. Now, one of the reasons I purchased this ship back in 2016, I think the sale was, the selling point for me was on the brochure, at least, it had a pool table. And I'm not joking, it was between this and another ship that I was contemplating getting, and I remember being in Discord about it. What was it, TeamSpeak? I can't remember. It's been such a long time now. And I remember discussing this with someone else. And when the sale was going on, it was like, oh my god, it's got a pool table. And I bought it there. And then literally the pool table was the deciding factor. Now, there's a little bit extra to this, because this is actually a potential hint at sort of what's to come. The fact that they've announced that the ship is going to be, the saying it's going to be done for a resource pack. So basically all these elements are going to be modular in terms of they can use them between different ships. Kind of how the Hammerhead and the Idris and the Javelin share kind of similar components. You may notice when you walk around doing the Javelin tour, or walk around the Hammerhead, or all the leaked footage from this spoiler-protected Idris, they all look very similar because they use similar components. And I'm guessing the same is going to get done with the Polaris's interior components, which would mean that some ships like Perseus might use similar components, so might use some of the parts in the Polaris to use in the Perseus, which means another ship in my collection might actually be benefited by the Polaris's work getting done right now. And in case you aren't aware, the Perseus is a pretty nice looking ship on its own. And that will wrap up this very short little video of sort of just the Polaris news. I'm really excited about it. Let's hope they don't do the merchantman sort of thing and get a little bit through the white box into the starter grey box and go, we're going to put it on the back burner again. I personally think that this ship will do very well with the release of Pyro expected later this year, beginning of next. You can transport a lot of people. It's got the facilities, it's got your mess, it's got an armory, it's got a brig, it's got medical, it's got a hangar where you can have a ship. You can actually bring those Auroras and Gladiuses or Gladii. I think a Hornet might fit in there. I'm not too sure. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen the episode where they were discussing the new hangar sort of size changes going from metric and all that rubbish. But you'll actually be able to traverse Pyro a lot easier, and eventually Nyx, which is even bigger. So I'm looking forward to it. Are you looking forward to it? As I bash my microphone. What ship are you most looking forward to that's still in the pipeline due to release? Is it the Polaris? Is it the Idris? I'm sorry, I'm looking forward to the Idris, alright? I'm really wanting to fly that thing and get lost in it. What other ships are still in the pipeline? You got the Perseus, the Nautilus, Merchantman. Which one are you looking forward to? Let me know in the comments. And do you think the Polaris will be out mid-next year? Who knows? Guess we'll find out next year.